It started like any normal night, just two coworkers closing up a store in one of the safest, wealthiest towns outside of DC. The kind of place where nothing really bad ever happens. But by morning, the front door was unlocked, the lights were still on, and something inside was horribly wrong. This isn't the story you think it is, and the person who survived, well, might know more than she's letting on. Welcome back to Macabre Mondays, where mystery meets the macabre with your favorite deadly married duo. I'm Ale.
And I'm Tom.
Your guides through the strange, the sinister, and the fricka what? The spooky. All right, this is where I tell the stories and he just gets dragged along for the ride, like your typical married couple.
Here we go.
On today's episode, I'm taking you somewhere we haven't been before. Okay, well, in the podcast, at least. Okay, so let me take your guesses before I dive in. Where do you think we're heading today?
Every time I do this, I guess the wrong place. So,
all right, just give me a state. Just give me a state. Okay, wait,
Connecticut.
No, you're so close. Wait, hold on. Read my mind, ready?
Massachusetts.
No, look at me.
Salem.
Wait, look me in the... Why do you keep guessing? Look me in the eyes, and I'm telling you telepathically. Ready?
I'm looking. New Jersey.
Oh, no, forget it.
New
forget
York.
it. No.
Rhode Island.
Let it go. Let it go. I
Vermont.
will tell you. I will tell
Maine.
you. Mississippi, Tennessee, whatever the song or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so this story in case today, honestly, could have happened to anybody. And the only reason I'm saying that is because... actually, you know what? I'm going to just let you see why I'm saying that.
Oh,
okay, because I'm taking you to a town that is almost kind of like picture perfect, essentially. Okay?
I know where we're going.
Where?
Are we going to the Desperate Housewives neighborhood?
No, but think of that vibe, though. Seriously, that's a good way. Think of that vibe because this story, well, the town where I'm taking you has got lots of yoga pants, Roman, Ugg slippers, slipping, green juice, juicing.
Stamford, Connecticut, home of Vineyard Vines.
No. But the town that I'm taking you to today is called Bethesda, Maryland.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yes, and it's a very like upscale town. But specifically, today I'm taking you to the Lululemon store on Bethesda Ave, to be exact.
Oh, I was so close.
Not really, but anyways, you know how yesterday I was like, you're like, oh, do you want to go into the Lululemon store? And I'm like, no, yeah, let me go in. But I wanted to go in just so you could see.
Now I see.
So you can kind of get an idea.
You know, that's why I made the comment. I was like, why are you walking into a store just to turn around and walk right back out?
I wanted you to just have it in the bed. Like, oh yeah, I've been there recently. So like freshen your brain. Yeah.
As if a Lululemon store is hard to forget. They're all the freaking
I know,
same.
They are, but it's just because I knew we were going to record the episode today, so I thought it was cute. Okay, damn, I'll never do that ever again.
Anyways, diving into it. Okay, we're going back in time to 2011, which weirdly enough doesn't feel. Why'd you have to say that as if it was like 30 years ago? Relax.
Well, when I was first seeing that this case happened in 2011, I'm like, wow, doesn't feel that far away until I started looking at it. Yeah, that's like 14 years ago.
If you have a car, if you have a 2011 car, now you're paying cheap insurance.
Yo, I used to have a 2013 Honda Civic.
Yes, you did.
And I thought that was the most newest, like Spanx whistles, whatever they say, on
you
the
sound
car.
like Alexa when we're playing the music trivia game. Spunky.
Yeah. Oh, she's like, oh yeah, she's
Shake
like,
Spunky.
Shake Spunky. You got it. We're like, okay, the hell. All right, so let's travel back in time to March 11th of 2011. It was a Friday, and it was a big one if you were a tech person, because the second generation of the Apple iPads had just launched. iPad 2. It was thinner, it was faster, and for the first time ever, it had the front camera.
This is not an advertisement.
No, it isn't. It would be funny though. But I find it funny because we used to live in a time where we only had back cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just funny. Not really, but
Anyways.
It's funny to me, okay? Well, this was back when everyone was still lining up outside the doors for the product launches and stuff. Remember doing
midnight
that for like
releases.
Yeah, midnight releases, gaming console, gaming games. I'm sure they did for like clothes and all that. Now we just stay on the couch and scroll and pre-order. Very convenient.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's released. Now I'm going to order it and go right to sleep.
Still nice, but back then there was a lot of excitement around that, staying up late, having to do that. And remember for the Apple Store, when it came to those launches, people would wait like a day or two prior. Yeah, they
even Black Friday. Yes. I don't think people camp out anymore.
No, they don't, because there's no reason to. Everything is at the tip of our... Yeah, it's just... Okay.
Bring it back.
Well, around this time of the new product launch of the iPad 2, that meant that the Apple Store on Bethesda app was most likely going to be packed, right? Like you said, people are camping out. There's going to probably be a line around the block. People are waiting for this release. Now, you can imagine people bundled up or in jackets, probably sipping their coffee, chatting with strangers in line, because that's what you did back then to make friends. You talked about everybody. You were like, oh my God, yeah, I can't wait to get it. You
wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't have done that at all. No, don't talk to me. But
I would have.
Yeah, you definitely would have. This is why I'm the black cat and you're the golden retriever in our marriage. Yes, very much so. And then when you were grabbing your Apple product, you walked out like you had gold in your hand because you got that cute little sleek white bag with the apple on it.
Okay.
So Bethesda itself, okay, it's a very polished middle to upper class suburb right outside of DC. And it's also known to be a very wealthy area. It's very cute and very chic. It's got fancy wine bars, boutique fitness studios.
Sounds very modern.
Yeah, Whole Foods, Starbucks, right?
Oh, and we love a Whole Foods.
We love a Whole
cookies.
Foods. We love a Trader Joe's and we love an Aldi. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this was the kind of place where kind of nothing really bad happens. And take that with a grain of salt because there's no place that's 100% safe. Okay. There's always some type of danger anywhere else. But the reason why I'm only saying that is because they just have a low crime and they're considered a pretty safe place to live. Like they're on the list of places to live or whatnot. Right. And we're also like Bethesda, Maryland is on the outskirt of Washington, D.C. So it's literally right there.
So probably a lot of politicians.
Yeah, I was reading.
Business people.
Yes, lawyers, doctors, a lot of higher upper scale. So you can already kind of imagine the place that it is to live now. Now, on the morning of March 12th, right next to the Apple Store on Bethesda Avenue was Lululemon Athletica, where we're going to be talking about today. Now, they refer to Bethesda Ave as Bethesda Row, which is kind of the same thing, honestly, whatever. But it has some pretty wealthy kind of stores, like upscale stores. And when I say that, I mean, you saw they had the Apple Store on the Strip.
Yeah, Williams-Sonoma.
Williams-Sonoma. I have the...
Love me a Williams-Sonoma.
Lululemon store was there. Yeah. They even have like a Kava.
I was going to say, I even see a Kava. Yeah.
Yes. And so you can kind of see where the Lululemon is, which I saw that it said that it was temporarily closed. So as of now, so I really don't know what's going on with that. But back then, it was popping. Okay. Now, you know the vibe at Lululemon. Minimalist displays, soft lighting, kind of get hit with like that faint smell of eucalyptus when you walk in the door, right? You don't smell it?
I don't smell it, Grant. My nose has been messed up for years.
That's true. Big nose, nothing to do with it.
Oh,
so,
okay.
They have like their yoga pants folded like origami birds or something. And they're like,
I've never seen this. What Lululemon are you going in?
This is just how I see it in my head, how I describe it, okay? Because every time I walk in there, I'm like, damn, let me not touch anything. Everything seems like perfectly folded, okay?
Wow.
Back then, in the inside decor, they used to have, do you remember they used to have like motivational quotes about peace and breathing and balance and all that, because they were big.
Lulu like first launched,
Yeah. And I saw they launched like around 2008. Or it was either 1998 or 2008, but I think it was 2008.
They're a newer company.
Yeah, relatively, yeah. And so they also used to host, which I didn't know this, they did like free yoga classes on Saturdays or whatnot, and then or spin classes or whatnot. So they would really, I
think it was yoga.
Something, yeah. No, it was definitely yoga, but I think they also did studio spin or whatever.
I see.
Well, by all appearances, it was just another Friday night, right? Customers filtering in and out. 2 employees, Jayna Murray and Brittany Norwood, were the ones to set up to close for the night. Now, the store policy, I don't know if this is like with every store, but I know with the Lululemon one I was seeing is that usually to have employees close up the store, there has to be at least 3 people on staff that night, like every night to close up. But unfortunately, they were low staffed at this moment, so it was just Brittany and Jayna closing up for the night, so the 2 of them. Now, Jayna was 30 years old, She stood about like 5'5", 130 pounds, but her personality was way bigger than that, okay? Like whether you knew her for years or you just met her, she had a way of making you feel important and included. She was super friendly, I was reading. She was bubbly, ambitious, very kind-hearted. And I kept reading too that people described her as an incredible friend to have. She was a dancer, a gymnast, a very accomplished athlete.
Athlete?
Yeah, am I saying that right?
Athlete. I love you.
Yo, and I said it again. I'm like, athlete.
Athlete.
Every time. I don't know what it is. I get mumbo jumbo with my words. She was adventurous. When I mean adventurous, I mean it truly. Because there's like a footage of her bungee jumping just for fun. And so that was kind of like her personality. And right before...
Adrenaline junkie, yeah.
But she's like, she looks so lighthearted and positive. Like just looking at her
exactly
photos.
What Lulu was at this time.
Pretty much. And so, and also if you think about it, Lululemon, like they kind of only well, I don't know about now, but back then that's kind of, or the type of people that they would hire is someone who's very
bubbly,
athlete, you know.
Anyways.
So yeah, exactly. And honestly, she was drop dead gorgeous. I mean, if you look at the photos that I'm showing her, she was so pretty. Bombshell. I mean, she was so intelligent as well. Because while she was at Lululemon, she was also pursuing her MBA at Johns Hopkins. So she wasn't just like working at Lululemon to pass the time. She actually wanted to grow with the company, and her goal was to work her way up to Lululemon's corporate offices and build a long-term career. So this to her was end all be all. Like she's like, I'm starting at Lululemon.
I'm going to keep on.
I'm going to work my way up, and I'm going to go to school, and I'm going to live my life. So she was super smart. She was very driven, beautiful inside and out, and always smiling. Any photo that I find of her, she looks the belle of the ball. She had beauty brains and just pretty much the kind of energy that a lot of people gravitate towards. And like you said, Lululemon is she was like the poster child of Lululemon. So the next morning of Saturday of March 12th at 8 a.m., the Lululemon store manager arrived to open up. Her name was Rachel. And as she approached the storefront, everything looked normal, to say the least, until she opened the door. But that's when she noticed it wasn't locked. That might seem kind of small, but in retail, that's huge. A red flag.
Yeah.
That's like your only job as closing team. Okay.
Yeah. And especially when there's two of you, you stand there, you set the alarm. Yeah. You go and you close the door.
Exactly. And I remember when I worked retail back in the day, my God, like if I ever closed up, I'm like, yo, check the door like 5 times. Because the last thing I want to be is the person the reason why the store got robbed and ransacked.
Yeah.
Now, she figured maybe one of the closing employees had just arrived early and forgotten to relock it, but as she stepped inside, her stomach dropped. The lights were still on. The store looked like a scene of a struggle. Mannequins were knocked over, hangers scattered across the floor. It looked like something bad happened. Yeah, it looked chaotic. Shoes scattered. She ended up calling out, saying like, hello? No answer. But she heard from the back of the store a moan. And that's when she freaked out. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to turn back out, step immediately outside the door because she doesn't know what she just walked into. But she knew that it wasn't safe to be there alone. She ends up calling the police.
Okay, we're counting 911. What is the emergency? I'm opening up my Lululemon store, and the door was completely open. And I hear someone moaning in the back, and it looks like it's been vandalized, and I'm just really scared to go in.
So Rachel approaches Ryan, complete stranger, obviously she doesn't know who it is, and asks him if he would be willing to help her look inside the store, you know, because she's kind of nervous about what's in there while they wait for the police to come. And even though he didn't know her, he ends up agreeing. He's like, yeah, no problem, whatever. Together they go back into the Lululemon store, but Rachel didn't go any further than the front of the store because she was just that freaked out.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right, definitely. She asked Ryan, like, oh, would you be able to just, like, check around in the back to make sure no one's here? Because she's also under the impression that what if it isn't her coworker? Because what if whoever made this mess, like, intruders, is still in there and she's, like, alone? So Ryan goes to the back. He's walking down the hallway, and the first thing he sees is a body, who we know to be Jayna Murray. Face down, motionless, lying in a pool of blood. It seems like there's a toolbox thrown on her and tools scattered all around her. So imagine like the gruesome crime scenes, which by the way, everybody, I will post those on our website so you can go see them, because again, Instagram and TikTok and all that aren't going to be too friendly to showing them. They're pretty gruesome, very gory. I'm going to add the exact link to this episode, so when you guys click on it, it takes you immediately to the photos, just to make it a lot easier, okay? Because we
had some really good feedback from one of our listeners. Yeah, so we did a little miniature
impromptu
meetup with one of our listeners in the area, and she gave us some really good feedback, and that was kind of one of the things. And truthfully, I think it's one of the things that we just didn't think about, but it makes sense. We want to make it easier for you guys to be able to find the videos and the photos that we post.
So he ends up seeing the body, okay? He calls back to Rachel and he's like, call the police. It looks like someone's dead. I mean, based off of the crime scene photos, it's horrible. And as he turns to head back towards the front of the store, back to Rachel, he saw something else, another person who was still alive. He saw a woman tied up, blood pooled all around her, cuts all over her, bloody, moaning softly. And now we know of this person as Brittany Norwood. So remember how I said that that night, the closing shift, there's two of them, which was Jayna Murray and Brittany Norwood. Now Ryan runs back and tells Rachel, listen, there's one person dead and the other looks like she's been assaulted. Like, you need to call 911 right now. Like, it's not looking good, right? And so Rachel ends up calling 911 again.
Montgomery County 911, what is the emergency? Looks like there was a struggle. What's the name of the business? It's Lululemon Athletica. Like it's been vandalized, like there was a fight. I am so scared that one of my girls is hurt. Okay, and you're saying that there's one person is dead? One person seems dead. Oh my God.
So within minutes, officers arrived at Lululemon Athletica. The scene inside the back of the store was no joke, like something out of a horror movie. I mean, you see the photos. They're gruesome. There's blood everywhere.
It looks absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, and the shoe prints, it's like a mess. There's tools everywhere. Everything's like tossed. It's very chaotic. So like I said, they found Jayna Murray face down in a pool of blood. No pulse, no signs of life. She had been the one who was brutally attacked and murdered. And Brittany Norwood, she was found zip-tied in the staff bathroom, and she was found pretty much like in and out of consciousness. Her clothes were stained with blood. She had cuts on her arms, on her legs, her chest, her forehead. She even had like a really deep cut that ran along her right hand near her thumb. So, and also both of the women appeared to have been sexually assaulted.
Damn.
Yeah. So you could just tell that by their clothing, because they had like their clothing was ripped and torn by the crotch area. So, and it looks, I mean, if you see it in the crime scene, like it just looks odd, right? Of course, they take Brittany to the hospital. So after she's stable and they're taking their evidence, they're taking their photos and all that, and she was able to talk and recount what actually happened. Now she says that after closing the store on March 11th of 2011, she realized that she had forgotten her wallet and contacted Jayna Murray to let her back in, because that's who she was working with, right? And this was around like the store closed at 9, and they ended up leaving each other around like 9:45. So I'm assuming to close, clean up, do all your typical retail stuff.
15-20 minutes or so.
Yeah, or a little bit more, who knows. Yeah. She couldn't get on the train because her Metro card was in her wallet, and she left the wallet back at work at Lululemon. And when she called Jayna to let her know, like, hey, can you just come back? Like, I gotta get my wallet, forgot it. Jayna was like, yeah, you know what? I left my laptop there actually, so I'll just go with you. I'll come back, like, no worries. So once they get back, as they go and search for the wallet, they kind of go to the back of the room. They're checking everywhere. They can't really find it. So Jayna's even like, hey, just take my Metro card, just so you can get home tonight.
Yeah, she's being helpful.
Yeah, she's being helpful. She's like, no, like, we'll find it tomorrow or something, right? That's when two masked men wearing dark clothing entered the store. And Brittany describes one as tall and one as short. She says that they're dressed in black and they're covered in ski masks. And she says that immediately the taller man grabbed Jayna by the hair while the shorter one grabbed Brittany. Mm-hmm. And she recounted that one of the men repeatedly were like strucking her. They were messing her up, pretty much demanding her, like, oh, where was the money? Like, show me where the money is. So it's looking like a holdup, right? It's looking like your typical...
Like a robbery.
Like a robbery, right? She ended up helping the shorter guy, like, open the register and get all the money out to pretty much ransack the store, because what else can she do? I mean, obviously she's being held.
Yeah.
So Brittany ends up sustaining like a really nasty ass head wound during the assault, okay, which you can see in the photos. And she mentioned that one of the attackers was using nasty ass racial slurs during the whole situation. Yes. The slurs, I'm not going to repeat them here because they're the kind that just makes your blood boil. We're talking hard ERs and just nasty, nasty racial slurs. And Brittany ends up claiming that the two masked men quickly pretty much overpowered them. Like they were kind of caught off guard, right? Forcing both of them to go to the back of the store. But Brittany was forced into the staff bathroom while Jayna was forced into the back hallway. And she stated that the men tied them up, sexually assaulted them. She said that she even was raped with a clothing hanger from the store.
Jesus Christ.
And they were both just brutally attacked, beaten on heavy. Jayna, when she resisted, Brittany was saying that the man just kept beating on her like hard because she was fighting for her life, that she was just not giving up. And so that's why the man pretty much ended up murdering her essentially, right? And so Brittany ends up describing that the whole time she's in the bathroom while that's happening in the back, that all she can hear are Jayna's screams and pleas for help for this guy that's murdering her. Throughout this whole ordeal, Brittany clearly is traumatized because, man, that's...
Anyone that lives through that.
Yeah. They would not. Yeah. I mean, no one would be the same.
Of course you're going to be caught off guard. You guys had already left.
Right. And then you just came back.
The only reason you came back was just, we're going to run in and out.
Right. And that's why they didn't close the door. Like they walked in, they didn't close it because they're like, oh, we're just going to grab the wallet and head back out, which I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Clearly from her injuries, like she's been through it at this point. Like it's insane. She even has on her belly, she has like a bunch of cuts on it. Like it seemed like the guy was just like cutting her up. Now, we're going to move on to evidence because unfortunately we know that Jayna passed away. She was murdered. And then Brittany's the only one that survived. There were no cameras inside the store. And the only camera was out back facing the car parking area and the Apple store. So remember you saw the map screenshot that I took? Yeah. And you can kind of see what's behind that building, which is just like a little parking area or whatnot. I don't know what you call parking lots.
It looks like a parking garage.
Yeah, but they're not. They're on a ground floor. But you know what I mean? That's those little parking areas or whatnot. Yeah. Okay. So that camera had actually time-stamped two men, one short, one tall, walking behind the Lululemon store just moments before this happened. And they were wearing beanies. They were just in all black, right? And they were walking behind the Lululemon store. Additionally, there was a man that was a local homeless man. His name was Keith Lockett. He kind of became a person of interest at first because he really stood out in the area. I mean, we're talking Bethesda, we're talking money, so that's kind of like a sore thumb.
Homeless is,
it's going to look like a sore thumb. Now, he was actually found at a hospital that it wasn't in Bethesda, I don't think. I just know it was away, with a swollen eye and nose, and he had blood all over him, and like he was just bloodied up. It looked like he was in a fight, right?
Yeah.
So obviously that kind of raises suspicions. Clearly, sums up.
Especially the same night.
Yeah, it's just odd, right? Now the detectives needed to start delving deeper because, like, to find more answers. Obviously, it's to solve the case. Not like they don't do that to begin with, but you know what I'm saying. Because the town was absolutely outraged. They're like, we now have two random criminals who are murderers, who are racists, who are rapists, now running amok in Bethesda. No one's standing for that. No one was feeling safe. Now, a new lead ended up happening the day after the attack. Okay, well, actually, the day after the attack on March 13th, okay?
Okay.
They ended up finding Jayna's silver Pontiac located approximately 3 blocks away from the Lululemon store, parked in another public parking lot.
So they definitely took her car and escaped with it.
Yeah, but interesting that it was 3 blocks away. Wouldn't you think that it would take you further? Like, if I was... I mean... So it's just odd.
Yeah, it's odd, but I also wonder if maybe they parked their car, trying to be smart, parked their car in that general area. and then walked on foot.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Just something to get them away without being seen, especially at the general. Yeah.
You don't want your license plate on anything that's in that general area.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay. So that night, an officer actually reported, like, oh yeah, I actually spotted someone sitting inside that exact car but he didn't recognize who it was, obviously, and he didn't know it was connected to the case because no one knows what's going on.
I was gonna say, and what cop recognizes every single
right?
Hey, that's not Linda. That's not Linda. That's Linda's car. You're in the wrong car, mister.
And so he said he actually noticed someone in the car. He said that it was on, the headlight was on or whatnot, but paid no mind to it. When he came back around the lot again, he didn't see them anymore. Like nobody was in the car.
Maybe one of them was in the car waiting for the other person to get out or something.
Maybe, who knows, right? So we're like, well, thankfully this cops remembered that and said that. Now, investigators discovered that in the store, there were bloody shoe prints found all over the store, obviously walking, and you saw them in the photos. And they were from a size 14 men's shoe.
Holy
Yes, and I think they said that Jayna and Brittany's shoes were obviously like size 7 or 8.
I was going to say, one of those girls had size 14. Damn.
Girl. No, yeah, but so it wasn't theirs. And there was also no signs of forced entry, and the store's alarm system hadn't been triggered, which makes sense because
they were back.
It was a quick,
like the quickest, most unfortunately perfect scenario for two guys trying to rob something.
Exactly. So at this point, the investigators are looking at the crime scene more to try to kind of understand, like, what the hell happened that night and put together pretty much more of the puzzle pieces so they can find these men to be able to explain a motive, like why, you know, what happened, what's the story.
How, on top of it, most robbers don't want to kill anyone.
No, they don't.
They just want their money and they want to get the fuck out.
Exactly. And so, like, what were they at just the wrong place, wrong time? That these men just walked by and out of nowhere were like, oh, 2 women alone. Yeah. Let's see if anything happens. I don't know.
And it's also odd because going back to my retail days, I remember typically either in the evenings, we would always switch it up. If we weren't having, Brinks trucks always came to empty out our big safe. However, for extra money that came out of our registers, we would actually do a run, and it would always be at least one person with the manager. And so typically before closing, we would basically grab whatever extra cash we had, and we would dump that into we had a certain amount that got dumped into the safe that Brinks would come and take. And then we had a certain amount that went into like a clear envelope thing that a person and the manager would have to take across the street to the Chase Bank to drop off and actually deposit into the company's account.
Yeah, okay. What that got to do with this?
Well, because if somebody thinking of a good time to rob, because almost anyone knows money is always going to get dropped into that safe. However,
well, you're not going to have that much money if you go rob a store, especially those stores. Yeah.
True. But opening and closing, even when I worked at GameStop, opening and closing, the cash register desk was usually covered in cash. The doors are locked.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But it'd be covered in cash. And every once in a while, those doors are getting unlocked for somebody to take the trash out or something.
Yeah.
And that whole area is covered in cash because you're counting it so that you know what to put in, so that you know how much is going in that safe.
Well, but my thing too is if this is like a random act, like they're just trying to rob, man,
why kill and do all that?
Yeah. Because you're not going to get that much money out of these stores. Because again, they have those safety precautions in place because of people who have robbed these stores. And have like years and years ago who have actually left with like thousands and thousands of dollars. So now like
there's triggers throughout the day too on the register. Like it knows how much cash is coming in to the actual register itself too. So like if a register hits above a certain amount, then it sends a signal. That way the manager also knows like, hey, we need to swap out those registers. That way we can empty that into the safe.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm like, it's just wild. It's just wild to begin with because what the hell's the motive here? That's just odd.
It doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't. Now, I'm going to place a trigger warning here because we're going to move forward to the autopsy report. Okay?
Okay.
Get ready. Deep breaths. The autopsy report for Jayna Murray is honestly one of the most disturbing and gruesome ones I've ever read. It revealed that Jayna suffered a total of 331 wounds.
Holy shit. Like knife wounds?
Yes, I'll tell you exactly. Of those, 232 were blunt force injuries, likely caused from a hammer or a heavy piece of metal like the ones used to hang merchandise. One of those like iron pegs. Yeah, the iron peg hooks, you know what I'm talking about, right? The ones that you plug into the wall brackets. It's like I'm explaining it to myself.
I think everyone else knows what the hell you're talking about.
I'm like, right, you get it? It's really me talking to myself. I'm like, oh, you got it. Like, you know
everyone
exactly what you're talking about.
Everyone else listening is like, yes, Alejandra, we get it.
You're like,
Jesus.
next girl. Shit, my God. Well, this thing weighed about 8 pounds, which I looked up. Okay. Now,
I love the fact that you looked that up.
The blows were so forceful that one of them left an impression in her skull that actually matched the shape of that peg. Yeah. And so the medical examiner, I watched this show on Peacock. It's called Autopsy. And they actually have like the medical examiner on a specific case. I'll have the detectives and whatnot. And they will cover certain murder cases and talk about the autopsy report and what they saw and what they found. He explained that they could fit like one of those iron metal pegs perfectly in her skull because of the exact...
Damn. It just, I won't lie, part of it almost sounds like these guys went to rob, but one of them
like
just
mad
had
about
like
their dad leaving.
Yeah, I was gonna say anger issues and was just like,
it's like mommy issues. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like we're like, I'm taking it out on them right now. Yeah,
because I mean the racial slurs, I can completely understand that through a robbery because some people just have that issue where they're just gonna throw it out to show like the dominance and kind of the intimidation factor.
Yeah, you know? And they're like that nasty. They're like, yeah, fuck yeah,
beating,
right?
And the fact that they also left her alive, who they were throwing racial slurs at,
I know,
but killed the other one. That also, what the?
I know, it's interesting. She had over 100 wounds to her head alone. Her head, like at this point. Yeah, and it wasn't just one weapon.
No wonder why she died. Jesus Christ.
Seriously. There was at least 6 different instruments used, like 6 different weapons used in the attack. And that included 2 separate knives and what the report described as an assortment of tools. And remember how I said when they found her, there was like a toolbox thrown at her.
Yeah.
And there was tools all around her. So those were pretty much the instruments that were being used. Yeah. And they're all stuff from the... Go for it.
Actually, I think you're getting ready to say
I was about to answer.
I was going to say, so they're tools from there? Or?
From the store,
okay,
yeah.
Never mind.
And she was also zip tied with zip ties from the store. They were zip tied. Like everything was used inside the store, which is
almost
also...
like these guys were kind of smart too. Like, oh, we know there's going to be stuff that we can use.
Yeah, but I also find it interesting because how would you know that these items would be in the store? I didn't even think about zip ties. Well, also I'm not a criminal or a dirtbag.
I mean, zip ties I would have never thought of in any type of store.
Or like a toolbox, I wouldn't have immediately thought that.
Toolbox I would think of, but not anything with anything crazy.
I guess,
more or less just like probably basic retail stuff, which is like a rubber mallet and a screwdriver.
But what throws me off too is you're on Bethesda Ave. Like this place is looking poppin'.
Yeah.
You know, this is like Richie to Richie. So to me, I don't know, but that's why everyone's outraged. They're like, who are these like, are they travelers? Are they something?
There's no way that they're from the area.
And especially
they know the area.
Exactly. And especially in an area that doesn't see much crime at all. Very low crime rate. Now, according to the medical examiner, the attack lasted somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes.
Jeez.
Yep. Imagine doing that for 10 to 15 minutes.
At some point, I'm
300.
Sure. I mean, because Brittany was the one in the bathroom, right?
Yes.
I'm sure at some point after she blacked out, or even right as she was blacking out, the other girl probably stopped making noise eventually.
Well, you'll see, because Jayna didn't go quietly. Okay. Her body pretty much showed numerous defensive wounds, so she was fighting with everything that she could to survive. Yeah. Now, this is the most important part to mention, right? Because when someone's alive during a beating like this, their heart is still pumping, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're alive, your heart, so your blood's still going to be...
Especially in this type of instance, your heart rate's way up.
Right. And so if your heart rate's up and you're alive, your blood's pumping. So that's going to mean that each wound that she's receiving is actively bleeding. So by analyzing the wounds were bleeding and each of the injuries, the medical examiner in the show, he explains that they can determine whether Jayna was still alive for each of the blows.
Yo, that's actually insane.
I know, which I would have never thought, like science, right? That's yeah, real. And it makes logical sense.
It does, but at the same time,
I wouldn't be thinking that way. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Cool.
Right, and so that's how they pretty much are able to calculate when somebody died,
if she was alive during the
right,
the
like
blow
if it wasn't
dead.
like the 10th strike that she had, that's when she died, because then you could tell by the other wounds
based
or
off
whatnot.
the blood.
Exactly.
Okay.
And unfortunately,
every single one,
she was alive for every single one until the last one. Yeah, Jayna was alive and semi-conscious through the entire thing, blow after blow, minute after minute. Yep.
Christ.
Until the man, her attacker, grabbed...
I wouldn't even call him a man. He's a animal.
No, seriously, an animal, disgusting loser. Grabbed a different knife from the store and he plunged it into the back of her neck. That it severed her spinal cord, and that's what ultimately ended her life.
Why we gotta do the cases that I get so worked up on?
I know. They're all gonna work you up because they're insane. We're just gonna start all... Time to work up Tom.
I was going to say, this whole entire episode, all people are going to hear is the caw, caw, caw.
Yeah, they're going to be like, man, lots of cursing. I know. We kind of get into it. We're trying to chill with that.
I mean, to be fair, that was also part of the feedback that we did get, was that they liked the fact that they're getting the pure feedback and kind of reaction.
Yeah.
They also... We know you guys have the same reaction too, and this is wild.
It's wild. So she pretty much died within seconds of that final wound. So imagine
I cannot imagine.
Yeah. So she had, 331 wounds. So the 331st wound is the one that killed her. Like, that is just absolutely tragic, and she just did not deserve that at all whatsoever. That level of violence, that's overkill. Okay. That doesn't sound random.
No, that sounds very targeted.
Yeah.
Or again,
passionate.
or just like random ass anger.
It's not a clean, calculated type of murder. It doesn't seem like it's about money.
No.
Like, that's
this
pure
seems
rage.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say rage.
Personal.
Taking everything out.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, also terrifying, because what the 331 wounds, that's insane. Imagine churning butter, mashing potatoes for 15 minutes.
Well, that's why I was just thinking, even
moving cement. Come on.
Moving cement.
Yeah. What was that thingy that we were doing?
You were basically getting the air bubbles out from where we were putting the post for the fence.
And that was tiring in itself. So imagine 331 wounds.
Because honestly, what I was thinking of is a baseball pitcher or a boxer or UFC fighter. These are people that are all trained for what they do, and they don't even get to that many reps.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're right.
So the fact that somebody did that's pure just anger and rage at that point, pumping their blood.
So you thinking like that is exactly how the investigators were feeling, because it's not making sense. Like, what?
No.
Like, who are these people, right? Seems like the criminals that you would hate to have or know or have to be on a case on.
It sounds like somebody that would be out of a like a Marvel movie.
Exactly. Because why would two strangers, random intruders, break in, ransack a yoga store out of all of them, and unleash that type of horror on someone that they don't even know?
No, for real.
Right. It just doesn't make sense. So now the detectives are wondering if there was more to the story, because the longer that they were examining the crime scene, the more questions that they were having, especially seeing everything that we just talked about.
Yeah, because I had the same reaction I'm sure they did when you first came in. Damn, robbery gone wrong.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you start researching and you're looking... What?
Yeah, like it's getting stranger, and there's more questions arising.
Especially then getting the story from Brittany.
Right, and Brittany's like, well, this is what's going on, and it's like, what the hell happened tonight? Like, that's just insane. So let's talk about Brittany's stories, right? I want to talk about the evidence because they'll break it down. She was interviewed 4 times after that night, the night of Jayna's murder. Now, let's go back to the crime scene and talk about footprints for a moment, okay? Because I know you can see them in
I was going to say, because those... It almost looks like a Doc Martin was just like blood and then placed.
He's like, Timbaland. Yeah, no, seriously. Now, the detectives started noticing that the physical evidence is telling a whole different story. they're not understanding it, right? So talking about the bloody footprints that were found all over the store, they weren't just any footprints. They were actually, like I said, from a pair of men's size 14 Reebok sneakers. Okay.
Oh.
Yep. And they also saw the size 14, and they could see Brittany's shoe prints as well.
Okay.
But there were 2 masked men. So where is the other one? There should be another pair.
Get the out.
Right? There should be another pair of shoe prints.
Yeah.
There should be 3,
well,
right?
Yeah.
Or at least 4 because of Jayna as well.
Yeah.
But no, if Jayna's the one that's getting murdered and there's bloody footprints everywhere, then that would make sense that's why her footprint's not around. So interesting. But still, right? Now, here's the thing. Lululemon doesn't sell men's shoes at this time, because I know they do now.
No.
These shoes weren't shoes that anyone had actually walked in with. They were store display models. These were used for their male customers when they were trying on pants or shorts mainly pants, right? Now, the shoes were still sitting in the store, still had the tags on them, and they were covered in blood, right?
Get the out.
Yep. Now, even more curious, there weren't any footprints leading out of the store. There was no smudge footprints.
Interesting.
There was nothing tracking anything from the front or the back. No footprints were found outside in the alley, and there was nothing in the sidewalk.
Okay.
All right. So the only place it is in Lululemon.
And there.
So where did they go? Right? Where did these 2 masked intruders go? At this point, it's looking less like someone escaped and more like someone staged them.
Yes.
Because that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Now let's talk about Brittany's wounds. Remember that she'd been found bound at her wrists and her ankles were zip tied, right? And she was found in the
bathroom.
In the staff bathroom, and she was unconscious, and she had
consciousness.
In and out of consciousness. Okay. She had her visible injuries. She had the cuts to her chest, her arms,
face,
forehead. She had a really deep cut on her from her thumb and her hand. But the doctors and officers at the hospital began to notice something strange, that the cuts that she had were superficial, and they seemed also very linear, which is like if you're kind of in a fight and it's going
almost
on, you would think
it
wouldn't be as
herself.
Perfect. In fact, they looked exactly like the wounds that someone might inflict on themselves.
I'm not even joking. The minute you started getting into this part of
evidence?
it, I immediately was like, that's why I said, I think at one point you'll hear me say, like, get the out.
No,
because
I heard
immediately that was when it clicked, and I was like, no.
Well, I don't know. You don't know anything yet. Because
You're right. Okay, let's keep going then.
Okay.
The people want to know. I want to know.
They look like the wounds that someone might inflict on themselves if they were trying to mimic an attack.
Suspicious.
No swelling, no bruising, nothing that pointed to a violent physical struggle like she was explaining that she said she endured, right? I mean,
bet this had her Metro card on her the whole time.
Every time I hear Metro, I always think Metro Boomin'. Sorry.
Anyways.
The zip ties on her wrist and ankles were tied loosely when they found her.
In other words, she had to pull them herself.
Could be. Loose enough for her to be able to move. Loose enough even that she might have done it to herself, like you said. Still, Brittany had claimed that the men raped her. Remember? She got raped. She was sexually assaulted. They raped her, and they also used a hanger.
Medical examiner did a rape kit.
The forensic
Nothing
nurse,
fucking showed back.
They do a sexual assault exam, but the results were that there was no evidence of sexual assault. And then came the inconsistencies, as if that's not already inconsistent enough. Okay, let's go to Jayna's car. When police first spoke with Brittany at the hospital on March 12th, she told them that after her and Jayna closed the store, they were attacked by 2 masked men who sexually assaulted them and left her tied up in the bathroom, murdering Jayna. They also robbed the store, remember? She claimed to have lost consciousness in and out and remembered nothing until being found the next morning. So a total of 10 hours, right? From when everything happened and all that. Which, okay, makes sense. You just went through...
Yeah.
Like, that's insane, of course. And you've been beaten. Brittany ended up adding a new detail.
Oh, of course she did.
Right? She was injured
you guys
4
know
times.
What I remembered?
But another thing to note, too, is that when it comes to victims of these type of either sexual assaults or some type
true.
of... Yeah. They're not... Sometimes their story's not going to be... You know, it's going to... And the police know that. So they're like, okay, of course, like, there's going to be things that come out and We're going to learn them as we go, but whatever. She was confronted with the evidence from Jayna's car that showed that they found Jayna and Brittany's blood in the car.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Wonder why.
So then her story shifted a little bit. She was like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot to tell you guys because I was so scared, okay? She claimed that the masked man had forced her to move Jayna's car because Jayna's car, when she came back, she kind of double parked in the back of the parking lot, and she's not in a parking lot. Like, she just pulled up. She's like, all right, let's go inside, get your keys. I'm going to get your wallet. I'm going to get my laptop. We're going to head out. She said that they forced her to move Jayna's car or else that they'd kill her and her family. And they told her to park it somewhere else and return back to the store within 10 minutes or else they would kill her and her family.
As if they knew where the your family lived.
Well, apparently she thinks that they did because they also have her wallet. Remember?
Also, the fact that you have your car means that a car you could have easily driven straight to your family's house, gotten your family, let them know, call the police in that 10 minutes. But you know what? You're right. What an idiot.
So clearly, this was a huge shift for her initial story because they had asked her when they first interviewed her when everything happened, like, hey, have you ever been in Jayna's car? And she said no.
Never.
She's like, no, I've never been in her car. So and obviously when they tested the car and they found both of their blood on it, they're like, that's weird. She said she wasn't in here. What the hell's going on? And clearly, exactly what you were saying, because the detective even asked her, well, why didn't you yell for help while you were away from the store? Because the men didn't even go with her. She's like, no, they didn't come with me, but they told me I had to return within 10 minutes. And she ends up saying, like, I even saw a police officer, Hans, remember the police officer who said, hey, yeah, I saw somebody in that exact car, but he didn't know who or what, couldn't make anybody out. It was Brittany in her car. She said that she saw the police officer and she saw two other people on the street, but she didn't want to ask for any help because she was scared. Like, she was so scared she just wanted to go back to the store.
Idiot, dude.
Yeah. And to me, I'm like
the guys are there.
Gone.
You're in the parking lot of the store and the cop goes by you. You don't think that would be the easiest and fastest way? SWAT would have been up and ready.
And even, no, seriously, I would have been in that car and I would have pummeled into Lululemon. I would have been like, oh yeah, psych. Like, I'm coming back to kill you. I mean, I don't condone that, but you know what I mean? I'm coming back to get you arrested. I'm talking 25 to life.
I'd just sit out front and I would have just kept revving and honking.
Yeah, I would have been like, come out. You're so tough.
Isn't it from The Purge or something where they're like beeping the girls that like showed up to the candy store or whatever and then they got ran over by the van? That would have been me. I would have just been like, beep, beep. Come on.
Beep, beep.
I'm testing you.
Come on now. So that's pretty much what she said. She's like, I just returned back to the store. I parked the car and I walked back. And the cops even told her in the interrogation room, they're like, girl, come on. What?
They're like, do you think we're stupid?
Yeah, they're like, this doesn't make any sense. And the cop even was like, you're telling me that you walked looking like that in Bethesda on a Friday night? Downtown? Like, that just makes no sense. Like, you could tell they were frustrated, and rightfully so, because girl, your story now is weird. It's like, at
this point, it's like, you might as well just confess.
Yeah, like, what happened?
You already screwed yourself over.
Yeah, just tell us what the hell happened. Clearly, the timeline of the events are not adding up, and your explanation to the whole situation that night are starting to seem like there's more to the story, so you might as well just come up front. Now, a quick recap, because thus far we have that her injuries are superficial. They look like they were self-inflicted. The zip ties were loose as hell and just don't seem right, which also one thing to know is that when she was zip tied, her ankles were zip tied, her hands and arms her hands were zip tied, her wrists, but she wasn't zip tied to anything. Even though she kept having her arms like behind her, like in the photos, they found her with her arms behind her head. They're like,
that's hilarious.
But she's zip tied to nothing.
Why the do you keep your arms up? You guys didn't see the thing that they zip tied me to?
She's like, I passed out.
There was nothing.
I passed out. That's exactly what happened.
Oh, hold on. What about the camera footage though?
We'll get to it, baby. We'll get to it.
I'm eager.
I know. So she's zip tied, right? There's nothing. There's also the question of like, well, why didn't you they left. Why don't you just go down and unzip tie yourself if you're not zip tied to anything, right? There was no evidence of sexual assault. And now she was in Jayna's car moving it when she originally said that she never was in her car to begin with, right? She didn't yell for help. Yep. She didn't flag down the cop. She didn't help ask
basically
the two people
everything
for help.
she could have done.
Right, exactly. Ultimately, she was walking back to Lululemon bloody on a Friday night in downtown Bethesda, right? So these are all the things thus far.
No rich person drove by at 9:45 coming home from...
Well, she saw two people.
Yeah.
And nothing. So now as the investigation kept progressing, it became clear that Brittany's story is starting to not align with the physical evidence.
No shit.
The more that Brittany kept speaking, the more questions were coming from the police. And that was leading detectives to reevaluate the whole situation and her whole role in this. By the time Brittany was back in the interrogation room for what would become her final interview, investigators had already spoken to her 4 different times, like I said, right? Over the course of a week. Each time her story was shifting, a little more detail there, a little more contradiction there. And detectives were starting to make note that something more happened here than she's leading on. At this point, they're just not having it anymore. They're like, Brittany, just tell us. Yeah.
I can guarantee both of the detectives are probably just like, come on, just tell us at this point. We fucking know.
You got to see the interrogation or the interview video because they recorded it. And they're like, Brittany, girl. Please just making it harder on yourself.
Oh, no, not the Midwest, baby. This isn't even Midwest. This is East Coast.
No, you know what it is? It's just my go-to accent. That's just one of my go-to accents. I'm like, come on, dang girl. We just want to go home. I just want to eat dinner with my wife at a decent time.
She made a ham sandwich with some rice and beans.
It was meatloaf the other day. We've been having meatloaf for the last 4 days.
Anyways, the people and I want to know. Let's get into it.
Okay, so they actually ended up doing this tactic where I read somewhere where they kind of called her siblings and her family in to come with her for like support, but really was just kind of also to cleanse her, to make her feel a little
weaker.
A little weaker, exactly. So they actually stepped out of the room and they left Brittany alone with her brother. Now, before I move forward, if you're ever in an interrogation room, you're being recorded. Okay.
Everything is recorded.
There is always a camera on. You may not see it. You may think it's not on. The cops can tell you it's off, but it's not. Okay. And they don't need your permission. All right. They really don't. And
because at that point, you've already read your Miranda rights.
Yeah. And especially if you're in there without a lawyer, then they can record you. As soon as your lawyer gets there, then they have to stop because nothing is admissible after that. But if you're innocent, stay quiet until your attorney shows up. Always ask for your lawyer. And if you're guilty, well, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Okay?
There's also a reason you get your Miranda rights read to you.
Yes, exactly.
You have the right to remain silent. Don't fucking answer anything. The only question you have to answer is, do you understand this list of rights I've read to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the next thing you say is,
I want my lawyer.
I want my lawyer. Exactly. Anyway, back to Brittany. So her siblings in the room with her.
Everybody there.
Yeah, the detectives ended up leaving her with them or whatnot. So once they ended up leaving, it's recorded. It's literally recorded. She and her brother are alone in the room now, and he pretty much like asks her, like, dude, like, was there a fight? Like, just what happened that night? Just tell them. That's when she admits it. Yep, there was a fight between her and Jayna that night.
No shit.
Now we're getting somewhere. Meanwhile, this is all happening, right? Other leads are being ruled out. You asked about those 2 men that we caught on camera, on surveillance, walking past the alleyway, near the store at the same exact time that they were getting attacked and like a little after.
They just were fucking nobody.
Dude, they were just dishwashers from like another store nearby getting off of work.
Dead.
Yeah, and they were cleared because they had nothing
probably
to do.
Wasn't even fucking beanies. It was probably the little like dishwasher like restaurant hats.
Oh, who knows? Well, they were wearing black or whatnot, so I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say, those like black apron looking hats,
kind of stylish. Yeah. Exactly. They were cleared pretty much nothing.
They're like, yo, we didn't do shit.
Yeah, they're like, dog,
I just got done washing dishes.
Yeah, we take this route, dude. And Keith Lockett, the homeless man that we we found out that has a swollen face and blood all over him. Nope. He was tested and the blood on him didn't match either woman. He was cleared within the 3 days after
Keith's
the
like,
attack.
yo, I don't even know what the fuck happened to me.
Well, and it's crazy because I read somewhere, or I think I saw something, I forgot. I'm putting all my sources in there. There's a bunch. But what I saw is the fact that he said that he did get into a fight that night.
Oh.
Yeah, so unfortunately he must have gotten into a fight. Yeah, poor Keith, exactly.
He's like, yo, I told this homeless man that I had this bridge, and then he was fighting me over it. And
poor Keith.
That's all that happened.
No, seriously.
I wasn't even over by the mall.
So now our suspects are...
one person.
Cleared. Yeah, we're down to one person. The only person that was there and knew
Not
exactly
even the
what
suspect.
happened.
It's the person.
Exactly. So now...
Jinx,
you owe me a foot rub and a sweet tea.
Okay. Whoa, hold up. You can't double up.
That's not me doubling. That was me in the same sentence.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. It wouldn't have been a complete sentence if I just said foot rub. You know, foot rub and sweet tea.
Anyways.
So now there's no more
Let's
suspects.
talk about how Brittany outed herself.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at the facts from the autopsy report and the crime scene evidence, okay? What really happened that night? Now, before I move forward, what do you think happened that night?
I have a feeling she was all irritated. I don't She was probably just in a mood about her boss. Didn't like her for whatever reason.
Jayna?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just my mind.
Okay.
And then
valid.
Just decided to go off. Theory 2.
Okay.
Jayna did say some racial shit.
Okay, right, because where did she get that from?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that caused Brittany to be like, oh, you think you're going to say this shit and not have a repercussion?
Boom,
and then all
331 wounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was almost as if it was just like rage from over years of hearing it probably from many other people.
Yeah. Do you think that she did it alone? Because 331 is insane. Under 10.
I don't
under
think
10
she
to
did it alone.
Minutes? Okay, you don't think she did it alone? Okay.
I don't. I have a feeling that there was somebody else involved just out of pure mindfulness.
Okay.
I feel like somebody else was involved, or she purely just had that much rage and adrenaline. That's the only two ways that this could have gone.
Okay. Solid. I think solid theories there, you know?
Especially because I've seen the photos of her. She doesn't look that built.
No, Brittany's only, I think she was 5'3".
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She weighed 100-something pounds.
How are you?
She's not. Yeah.
I mean, an 8-pound thing, sure, but...
Yeah, 330 times.
If you've never watched Pain and Gain, it's a true story. And those guys were beating the shit out of each other, and like it took weights falling on a 45-pound plate falling on people's heads. To
okay. You're making valid theories here.
I'm just saying.
I know. I agree. Are you ready to find out?
Yeah. Tell me. Damn.
Jayna was murdered from behind. She was caught off guard. There was blood inside her car. It was Brittany's DNA that was also found on it. It was Jayna and Brittany's DNA. And the men's size 14 Reebok footprints in the store. Well, Brittany had actually slipped on the display pair from the sales floor, stepped into Jayna's blood, and created a fake trail to make it seem like multiple attackers had been walking through the store. Investigators also sprayed the store's sink with luminol, you know, that chemical that lights up blood even if you wash it or whatever, and it lit up everywhere. The basin, which was the sink, on the countertop, the faucet, everything was covered in blood. So Brittany had clearly tried to wash it off, which makes sense when you consider because she had 10 hours to pretty much stage this murder.
Everything.
Yeah, 10 hours. That's insane. No one's going to be
also
there.
Insane too, because you got to think they're glass front stores too.
Yes. Well, I showed you the photo.
Yes.
And
true. They had
part
like
is frosted.
Yeah, they had like the decoration
and the decoration and all that. Yes, exactly. But it's true that what you're saying. So I mean,
also I know plenty of cops that do the nightly rotations, and also most of these places have security too.
Yeah.
If they see store lights on past a certain time, they'll also typically call it in and check. So
yeah, but where this is on, like, there's no cars driving on there.
Oh, they don't even have like security.
No, it's like
or
those.
Anything?
Look at the photos. It's like cobblestone. It's an ave that you walk through. Yeah.
I was misunderstanding what side the entrance was on.
Oh, yeah, no,
in
no,
that photo.
no.
Okay.
Let me see. I don't think.
My bad.
Let me see, but I really don't think that it's like everything I was seeing didn't look like you drove on it. It looked really much like one of those. No, you don't, because there's seating area everywhere.
Oh, I see now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got to think about it too. A lot of the other stores are probably closed. The only one open is maybe the Apple store, but I'm going to get into that. But talking about the 10 hours, right? That's how long she stayed inside the store after she staged this murder. And if you think about it, put herself to sleep, zip tied, waiting for hours in a bathroom, covered in blood, in wounds that you self-inflicted on yourself. What sociopath?
I was gonna say that makes you.
That's insane.
Just psychotic.
Yeah, you're a psycho.
You're literally a villain.
Yeah, you're cleaning. 331 wounds is insane. I just that's the part that really, and you deliberately are hurting yourself.
Do we ever get into why?
You love to get ahead, don't you?
Well, because I'm sorry. I don't know. Us and the people, we're ready.
Okay. Now, here's the thing that stands out to the detectives, right? There's blood on the floor near her when they find her, right? One of the things that stands out is that her shirt had no blood on the back of it. Now, how do you lie in a pool of blood for hours and keep your back clean? That don't make no sense, right?
No.
The other second evidence was her hair was clean of blood. You've been laying down, you have this gash in your head and you're bleeding, but the blood isn't, like gravity isn't working against you.
It wasn't her blood, was it?
It was her blood. Oh, sorry. That was the chair, I swear. I did not do anything like that.
Okay.
I don't do that. That don't come out of me, okay? First off, why does Buddha look like a Renaissance painting?
I know. With the one leg back and everything.
Yes,
don't say his name anymore.
I'm going to take a photo for you guys and post it on our socials. He looks like a Renaissance painting. There's candles on. It's really funny. Okay. It is her blood, but you got to think about gravity, right? Yeah. Because if you're lying on your back...
Wait, hold on. Now I'm going to go back to the photo.
Yeah, go back to the photo. If you're lying on your back and you're there for 10 hours, wouldn't the blood run sideways onto your...
Nah. Yeah. The blood literally is dripping down.
Down forward, yeah. Like she's standing.
She's dumb as hell.
I can't.
There's not a single bit of blood that's going up. What the fuck?
The answer to that is the back of her shirt is clean. Must suggest that the blood around you wasn't yours. So investigators actually believe that she used a clothing piece or something from the store and smeared Jayna's blood around herself using it to make it appear like she had bled out and she had a pool of blood. So she's got her zip ties, she's got her wrists and ankle zip ties, and then she laid there in this pool of blood that's not even hers, that she staged for 10 hours until Rachel came to open up the store the next morning.
This girl's psychotic.
Crazy, right? And to me, what a conniving piece of what the hell's wrong with you, psychopath? Like, this is insane. She didn't run, she didn't panic, she just set the scene pretty much like a horror movie director, and she's like working on Sinners, and she's hey, more blood. It's just insane.
A director on Sinners. I just realized what you had said. No, this is...
Are you looking at the photos?
Yeah, I can't. I'm looking at her, and even the way that she's like laying there on the floor and everything, I'm like...
Well, the thing that sucks is that she definitely had police and everyone fooled because, man, you just went through this horrific act. You just lived through this traumatic experience. My God.
But that also explains... Damn. Hold the phone.
What? I'm holding. Beep boop, beep boop, bop, Jayna
had been sexually assaulted. So that means this psychotic killed her and sexually assaulted her?
Well, she actually wasn't assaulted either. Okay. So remember how they didn't find any evidence on Brittany? Well, they didn't find. So she is staging it as if she did get assaulted because she ripped like the crotch area of the fabric and everything.
I'm sorry. What the
I know.
All right, what else you got for me? Well, how many years she serving? Like, where the
you're
she
like,
at?
I'm ready to go on this ride with you. On March 18th of 2011, Brittany Norwood was arrested for the murder of Jayna Murray.
That's right.
Yeah. I ain't fucking leaving. Nah.
Get the out of here.
But you got to think about it. That still leaves that one big question you asked me. Why?
Yeah,
why did she murder her? What could possibly lead someone to murder a coworker?
Oh my God, if you draw this out anymore, me and the people listening are going to come through the headphones they're listening. I'm going to climb across our podcast table and scream at you until you tell me.
Okay, it turns out the night of the murder, some Apple Store employees were working late, heard something coming from the Lululemon store next door around the same time. There's actual surveillance footage showing them pressing their ears against the wall, trying to hear what was going on because that's how loud it was. What they heard was an argument, 2 female voices. One voice, believed to be Brittany's, kept asking, "What's going on? Talk to me. What happened?" Then came a scream. A woman's voice, Jayna's, crying out. The last thing they heard was, "God help me, please help me."
Damn.
Yep. But the Apple Store staff, they ended up chalking it up to maybe it's just girl drama. So they didn't call the police, which is so unfortunate because
that could have probably
could have saved Jayna's life. Yep, it could have. Exactly. She could have
survived. Or even if they started banging on the glass or something. What?
Something to scare her. Yeah. And that was definitely a rough point of this case because again,
I would struggle if I was an Apple employee.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have struggled.
Well, that leaves us to think, like, what's the fight about?
Just fucking get to it.
A bag check.
Are you ever kidding me? You're telling me she's getting ready to leave for the night and she's upset because her bag had to get checked?
I'll tell you. Now, if anyone's ever worked retail, you know the deal. Before leaving the night, bags get checked just to make sure no one's stealing, right? Everybody has to check their bags.
Yeah.
Now, when Jayna checked Brittany's bag, she found a pair of stolen yoga pants. And apparently, this wasn't the first time. Brittany had actually been transferred to the Bethesda Lululemon after being quietly transferred and moved over from another Lululemon store under suspicion of theft. But they couldn't prove it. So they were like, they were pretty much like, okay, things have been disappearing. She's also not making any sense with her stories. So let's just transfer her to another store because they couldn't prove it. And so it was also kind of a thing, like they're trying to catch her. They're trying to actively catch her.
Hell, man.
And they even, the employees at the Bethesda location knew about her conniving, thieving situation. And so they were also like, okay, well, we're just going to have to catch her. And then once we catch her, we just fire her, right? We'll just don't have to deal with it. So at this new location, they were pretty much alert. And when Jayna found the pants in the bag, she was going to go and call the manager, Rachel, to report the incident. Now, I was reading and seeing things that she did call Rachel about she got on the phone with Rachel and told her, hey, listen, we got her.
Okay.
I found because Brittany, when Jayna asked Brittany, hey, those yoga pants, I need to see a receipt. Because Brittany says, oh yeah, I bought it earlier.
Yeah.
She's like, I need to see a receipt. The POS system was already shut down. So she was like, whatever, I'll just figure it out in the morning.
I was going to say, because the other side of it too is typically when you are working retail also, if you're ever going to buy something, you cannot check out yourself.
Oh yeah. So that's what I was going to say. Sorry, my bad. I forgot to mention. She said, I think she said that Brittany said Rachel rang her up in the day. And so when Jayna calls, I think it was Rachel. My God, I'm blanking on this right now. But yeah, she calls him and she's like, hey, did you sell it to her? And she said, no, I didn't. They're like, we got her. Boys, we got her. We got her, right?
Which is also going to explain if she's on the phone, she's not looking.
Yeah.
That would explain why she was caught off guard.
Exactly. So at that point, Brittany's job and her reputation are on the line. And based on her file, apparently this is a new behavior to Brittany. She had actually, the only reason why I didn't really talk much about Brittany is because I don't give a about her, okay? Because she killed Jayna, horrible,
so you mean murder. This is a new behavior to...
This isn't to Brittany. This is a new behavior to Brittany because she's actually...
it isn't. Sorry.
It isn't. My apologies. She isn't new to this behavior. She's been thieving. She's been thieving for a while now. She had actually previously, she got a full ride college scholarship to New York for playing soccer or something.
Okay.
She lost it because they found her stealing from her teammates and stuff like that. Yeah. So this is what's going on with her. Yeah.
Yo.
And so she pretty much moves to Bethesda and they relocate her. And so she's starting fresh. Okay.
So what you're telling me, she brutally
yeah.
murdered
her coworker
over
because she got
$119 yoga pants.
Well, she got caught.
You're going to lose your job. Yeah. But I'm sorry, but typically, another side note, between if you're a customer and you're stealing, cops are going to get called on you.
Yeah.
If you're a retail employee and you're caught stealing, it's probably going to be a slap on the hand. And
yeah, they're going to be like, dude, you're fired.
You're not
Get
allowed to work from us anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's funny, too, because I was reading that she also had... Okay, so pretty much in her file, she actually had a restraining order from an ex-boyfriend, and she actually broke it. She broke into his house and all this shit. So clearly she's got a
psycho?
No, I agree. I completely agree with what you're saying. So clearly that just shows you that she's not this little 5'3" girl that's just, like, yay, whatever, I work at Lululemon and all that stuff. Exactly. So clearly when she got caught, she panicked. And what began as the confrontation, which makes sense if they're saying that they heard someone saying, well, what's going on? Like, talk to me or something. I'm assuming that might have been when Brittany was trying to figure out what was going on. That ended up escalating to Jayna's brutal murder. Now, was it planned? Probably not. It probably wasn't.
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it, but clearly once it started, Brittany went too far, and that's when she knew it, So she tried to cover it up, frame it as a robbery, and paint herself as the victim. Now, the trial actually lasted 6 days, and the jury deliberated for under an hour and found her guilty.
I was going to say, wouldn't take much.
I saw something that they found her guilty within 20 minutes. So I'm like, damn, I mean, I'd find you guilty for sure. Yeah.
All the jury comes walking in before they even all sit down. They're like, we all find guilty, right?
Guilty.
Okay, cool. We'll talk for 20 minutes.
And I wouldn't even be surprised if the jury found her guilty within 3 minutes, but the rest of the 17 was them having to fill out the forms. Yeah, and they're like, all right, make sure you X here.
What does juror number 5 say?
Yeah. Brittany Norwood was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. After she was convicted, she stated in her sentencing hearing, I found an article on patch.com by Aaron Donahue. I'm going to post it. Again, all the sources are always going to be in the episode description. For the Murray family, what do I say when your daughter's gone and I'm the one convicted of her murder? I know what I say today won't take the pain away over the loss of Jayna. Norwood said she was deeply sorry for the March 11th crime, during which prosecutors say she cut, stabbed, and bludgeoned her coworker Jayna Murray, 30 years old, more than 330 times in downtown Bethesda Lululemon shop. I hope for the Murray family someday you'll be able to find forgiveness in your heart. She said, I'm truly sorry. I'd be like, anyways, bye.
For real. Justice was served.
Justice was served for real. Now, her father, David, said, I miss Jayna more than I can express in words. Not a day goes by that I don't think of her as she was. She was more than a daughter. She was one of my 4 best friends.
Damn.
I know. Family and friends stood to describe the pain, anger, and despair they've struggled with since learning the news of Jayna's murder March 12th. On March 12th, 2011 was my family's September 11th, 2001, said Jayna's brother. Nothing will ever be normal. Nothing will ever be the same. The judge that was on her case said that he went home after the trial and he tried to bang his fist against the table over 300 times to kind of mimic Brittany's movements, and it took him over 8 minutes to do so. So it's because to him he was outraged. He was like, how the f*** does somebody do something like that for 330 times under that short amount of time?
And it also just sucks so much because if you think about it, this was Jayna's goal. Like, All she wanted to do was climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah. And she wanted to make something of herself and go to school. And she was this ball of light. She had like who she would have became to this world. And Brittany decided to take that away over a pair because she got caught stealing. Yeah. Because she couldn't look internally and fix her problems.
Yeah. For real, dude.
Jayna was just 30 years old. She was adventurous. She had her 2 master's degrees. I mean, clearly loved by coworkers, family, and friends and all that. Her brother was stationed in Iraq, and he received a package that she sent him shortly before she was murdered.
Damn.
There was a card in it, and it read, "Things that don't work on their own. Chips without dip, macaroni without cheese, and me without you." And she signed it saying, "Take care and be safe. I love and miss you." I was like, damn, that shit made me tear up because... that was so... I just can't even remember.
I couldn't imagine, because it also takes so long when you're deployed to get packages and stuff. Yeah. So imagine, because the Red Cross typically gets involved in situations like this too. You get a phone call, your company commander comes to you, lets you know your sister dies, and then more than likely the same day or the day later, all of a sudden you get a package from her with a note like that.
I know.
What the man?
I know. And they were really close. Like she was just, I mean, you saw her in the photos, ball of light. She was so adventurous. Like beauty and brains all in one package. Yeah. And it's funny because, actually it's not funny because Brittany, you, but when she murdered Jayna, that day, she took a yoga class. She got her nails done with a friend. She was having a great day.
Like a good day.
Good day. I mean, that's a great day right before she goes into work.
What a selfish piece of
Yeah, and then she goes into work and then horrifically murders in stages. Like you've got to be some other type of animal.
Also, I'm sorry, but dude, you're not even stealing expensive shit.
Yeah, dude, yoga pants. No, there's obviously more internal stuff going on there.
I get it, but at the same time,
over yoga pants, yeah.
You're working. You get a discount at Lulu. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, just pay.
Lulu is expensive. We all know this.
Yeah.
But you get a discount more than likely.
Right.
If you can't afford it, you can't afford it.
I know.
Fabletics is probably right up the street, dude.
Dude, Fabletics, just order
You
some
can get 3 for $40. They've been running that same deal for the last 20 years. They're like new members only. Psych, I know it's not just new members only. But then you got...
So true.
Like, why? Why?
I know,
and
clearly.
on top of it, to kill somebody that brutally.
That's why it was personal. It was more than that.
Like, beat somebody up. Sure, I could see that. Like, you're getting that upset over getting in trouble. Yeah. But, like, why?
I know. No,
I
know.
You have so much internally wrong with you. You deserve to go to Rikers Island.
Yo, Rikers.
I'm pretty sure that's the jail, right?
You talking about Alcatraz?
No. Rikers is in New York. It's the one for all the psychopaths, right?
Yes, Rikers Island. Nope. Yep.
Please, no one in there, if you're listening.
Yo, if you're listening, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy.
I'm calling you a psychopath in a genuine way.
In a, just accept who you are way. Yeah.
There's like famous cannibals.
No, I know.
It's fucking wild.
I know. Well, the week before Jayna's death, her murder, she actually wrote in her journal, "Mom and Dad, thank you for the wonderful life you've given me. I'm loving the life I am living." And she had no idea that was probably her last journal entry.
Are you getting ready to hit another heartstring?
No, that was all the heartstrings. I know. I was tearing up when I was
the package is what killed me the most because I
it's just sad. It's so sad.
I think about getting that from any loved one after they died and it didn't get to me before they died.
I can't even
that
imagine.
Would ruin me.
And it's crazy because Brittany joined the store. It was I think she was there for only a month.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because she's troublemaker.
Yeah. And she also would teach the yoga class because back in the day they used to teach a yoga class on the Saturdays or whatnot. She would actually teach the yoga class. She would teach the spin class or whatever. And she was another great athlete too, but she decided to ruin her life and just, I don't know. And I saw the most recent thing was a couple years later. This happened in 2011. I think it was 2014. She was somehow trying to get another hearing or something because she said that they didn't read her rights or something. I'm like, girl, it don't even matter at this point. You murdered her. What does it matter if they didn't read your rights? Sorry. You did the crime, didn't you? Okay, so what do you want to knock off, like 2 years on your life sentence? Okay. Like,
you're done.
You still in
you're
life.
Done.
You still life sentence.
Stay there, because you've not changed. You're not going to ever change.
No, yeah, seriously. There's also a really good book. It's called Murder in the Yoga Store. It's by Dan Morse. There's an audiobook. I was listening to it. Really good. They go into super detailed depth. So I hope I covered everything. But again, if we missed anything, let us know. I don't want to be crucified. Okay, thank you.
Oh, man.
Thank you for joining us today on Macabre Mondays. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you know more about today's episode or caught a detail we might have missed, let us know.
Also, here we go. We'd love to hear from you. Seriously, guys, if you have a story that's strange, sinister, or downright spooky, doesn't matter how big or small, send it our way. We want to hear from you, we want to read your stories, and we want to learn more. You can email us at macabremondays@gmail.com or head over to macabremondays.com to submit your story. Yours just might be featured on an upcoming listener episode.
Follow us on social media by searching Macabre Mondays for photos of today's episode, updates, and a little extra spooky fun with marriage mystery and a little mayhem. We'll see you next Monday for another sinister, strange, and spooky episode. Stay tuned. More mystery is just around the corner. But until then, stay curious and stay safe. Bye, everyone.
Peace up, 8 down.
Doody, doody,
Bye.